What's up, y'all? Happy Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday. I almost said Wednesday. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. How y'all doing? What type of Tuesday are y'all having? What type of Tuesday are y'all having? Is it peaceful? Are you resting today? Has it been a warfare fueled day? What kind of Tuesday have you had? You've been losing track of days too. Woke up today thinking today was wow, not the weekend. Blessings to you, Kevin Joseph. Listen, God has had me resting these. Hey, Visha, God has had me resting these past 2 days, and so my days have kind of been out. My body's been a little bit tired, so I've been, trying to recover and just rest and let God just, listen, it's not even close to the weekend. The week just started. And you thinking, listen, and you thinking the weekend, but I was saying like, because I've been resting, it's just thrown like my days off. My question to you guys as y'all are entering in, this is going to be the point to ponder today. What's your why? What is your why? WHY. What's your why? What's your why? I need y'all to type that question in. Make it personal. What's my why? I know y'all are like, Apostle, like, what kind of question is that? What's your why? And some of y'all, when I ask this question, you may think that I'm going in, the typical direction of, what most people tend to talk about, but I'm not. What is your why? I did not think that I was going to come live today, just simply for the fact that I've just literally I've been tired. I have not napped today. I ain't taking no other nap. I told God last night when I had trouble falling asleep, Lord, I'm not taking no 3.5 hour nap again, 3 to 4 hour nap again. But it's just not happening. So I ain't taking no nap today. What's up, Daphne? I ain't taking no nap. I'll rest. I know that my body's screaming rest. And so he says just flow. I had not planned to go live because I was just going to do exactly what God said do, which was just what I felt like I needed to do, which is rest. Our bodies will always tell us, and this is for somebody. Our bodies will always tell us when we need to rest. And a lot of times what happens is that, mentally we feel like I should keep pushing, 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 pushing. And sometimes we will ignore how our body is feeling, because God will give us signs through our body that we need to sit down somewhere and that we literally need to just rest, take a day off and do nothing. But a lot of times our priorities make us push up against the grain. But I've learned, I used to fight God with that, but I've learned, hey, Miss Allen, I've learned over the course of my journey with God, just when I feel like rest is needed, to actually take those moments and not push against the grain, not make myself try to do anything else, but to just literally rest and do nothing. But so I was resting, so I had not planned to go live, and I honestly, it's just been peaceful today. It's just been peaceful. It's been relaxing. It is back raining here in Mississippi. I don't know what's up with this rain, but we got rain for the next 2 weeks. And I got up and I knew that, okay, God, I got a taste for a salad, but I don't want no Italian dressing. For some reason, Apostle T was feeling, I promise y'all I'm going somewhere. I was feeling Thousand Island. Don't ask me why, you know, but Thousand Island was what I wanted. And, I knew I needed water. I knew I needed a few other things. And I knew I needed some stuff to just make a bath, to just, the little foaming bath, to just sit and let my body just rest. And so, funny enough, when I went to Kroger, that's one of my favorite spots. I'm like, all these people eating Thousand Island, God. I don't know if y'all have ever went to the store with your mouth fixated on something, or you got an appetite for a certain thing and you're just sure it's gonna be a lot of this stuff here. And I'm like, God, all these people don't like no Thousand Island now. I mean, bear. And don't even get me talking about how the water, all these people don't like Thousand Island apple. It cannot be true. But a little to my surprise, it was bare. I found one, one. Um, Kroger was sold out of like my jugs. They have been sold out of water for the longest. I don't know what is going on, but they were sold out of water. But I found the little bottled water. But nevertheless, I was talking to God on my way home, and God asked me a question, and He said, right, something is coming, and a lot of people are buying things out of fear. A lot of people are buying things out of fear. But God asked me this question. And what He asked me was this. He said, what would you do if I gave you $1,000? I was talking to God about like my vehicle, and it was just a moment of me and God, and just me expressing like my desire, me just decreeing and declaring some things over my life. And I was talking to God. The conversation just really, He wants me to share this. Right, definitely to Visha. Well, I haven't seen that here, but I know in some places they are. But I was talking to God, and I was just like, my car will be paid off, in full. It just seemed like random, like a random moment of like me decreeing and declaring. I, even went a step further. I'm like, God, this car's not just gonna get paid off. Like, I'm going to pay it in full, like 3 years before it is like due. It's going to be like paid in full. And it was a simple desire, that for me, as God, began to like ask me questions. It was a desire that was rooted in breaking generational strongholds. I'm gonna say that again. It was a desire rooted in me breaking generational cycles. I'm like, God, I don't know anyone in my bloodline that has just went to a car lot, paid it off in full, and drove off the lot, no note, no nothing. And even though I've already driven mine off the lot, like I still don't know anyone of my in my bloodline that has paid it off like years early, 3 years early, 5 years, or paid it off in the first year. You get what I'm saying? And so the Lord asked me this question, and He said, what would you do with $100,000? And so I'm going throughout the list, and I'm like, I would pay this car off, God. I would do this. I would put money towards my house. Like I was telling God, this is what I would do if you bless me with $100,000. These are the things that I would do. I would save some, and do whatever else you want me to do, but I would put some towards a house. I would pay this car off. That would be literally what I do. And so it kind of got quiet. And so as I got home, I'm like, God, I'm asking God, like, God, was that the wrong response? And the Lord told me, He said, it was the right response. And He began to, continue to talk. And what He said was, their why isn't big enough. I said, Lord, what you mean their why isn't big enough? He said, there are some of my children that are asking for things, but their why isn't big enough. And He began to say, your response was the right response, because it was about breaking generational strongholds off of your life. It wasn't rooted in pridefulness. It wasn't rooted in just feeling like you all that in the bag of chips. It was just simply and wholeheartedly rooted in the fact that you don't want to be like them. But the Lord says there are some of my children that, one, they wouldn't know what to do if I were to bless them with much more than they were asking me for. They wouldn't know what to do with it. They would squander it. Some of them would literally just be like a chicken running around with his head cut off, because you have not prepared. You don't know exactly what you should do. And some of them, He said, would do too little with the blessings. And this ain't just financial. He said some of them would do too little because their why isn't big enough. And then He led me back like to the wilderness. Can I flow? I feel God. I don't know if anybody else can feel His presence, but it's here. But He led me back like to the wilderness. And He led me back to those moments where I would sit at that park up the street from my mom's house, the park that my father used to literally, take me to go walking around. And I used to sit there in that season, And, I used to like pep talk myself, like what I call thoughts by T myself. I literally would, especially in moments where I felt hopeless, moments where I felt like throwing in a towel. And he showed me, a certain thing that I used to always say. I used to think about like my mom's life, my aunt's life, and how they never surpassed the level. And I used to tell God, God, I can't die here. My life will not be like theirs. Like it cannot. And this would always lead me into like those moments where I'm like, God, no child of God. I'm a child of God. I'm a doer of the word. I ain't just a hearer. I am a doer of the word. And I just knew that my life, it has to look different than theirs because I'm doing something drastically different than theirs. And a lot of times when I would have like these powwows with God and just talking to God about it, like he led me to seeing how like that mindset honestly was the thing on top of a few other things that really led me to like seeing it through to the end. Literally seeing it through to the end. And even now, God is just showing me light bulbs going off. Where like as He's speaking through me, there are just some of y'all where the light bulb is coming on. And it's like from that moment, especially looking back now, it's like a light bulb went off in me as I would tell God these things where I just knew like my life is destined to be, even as a kid, I just knew my life is gonna be different. I used to say that. My life is going to be different. It's going to be drastically different than a normal person's life. But God is showing me light bulbs where some of y'all, you need to think bigger. Stop just expecting God to pay that bill for you and that's it. What is your why? What is your why? Because when your why is like rooted in breaking generational strongholds, giving God the glory, and actually wanting what God has for you, change is imminent. It has to come. The breakthrough, the shift, the miracle, it has to come. Thinking from that mindset always encourages you on those days where you just don't feel it. You ain't feeling it. But the Lord told me, He said, some of my children, they why isn't big enough. They just want me to pay that bill. They just want me to open that door, give them that job, and they're not thinking about the strongholds that they're breaking, and because they're not thinking about breaking generational strongholds, there's a certain misunderstanding that they have about their process. Because if I can be real, I didn't understand my process in the wilderness, but I also didn't understand the fact of, the generational curses that I was breaking, which shaped the way my process had to be. And honestly, because I didn't have that understanding of both of those things, I struggled a lot. I was double minded. I wavered a lot in my faith. Who am I talking to? But God says, because some of y'all are not thinking about it from that aspect. Some of y'all be growing weary in your processes. Some of y'all be playing the woe is me, why me, God, type of mindset. Some of y'all think the process that is punishment. Some of y'all have been comparing your lives to other people, your process to the processes of other people. And God is saying, dig deeper. Dig deeper. Because when you can get to the root of what your why is, knowing exactly how your life has to differ, being a child of God, seeing the patterns in your own bloodline, because the pattern will always reveal itself if you look for it. But when you really get to the root of understanding all of that, it gives you insight as to why your process is the way that it is. Right? And when you understand all of those things, it puts you on God's radar to be blessed much more abundantly. It gives you strategy, it brings clarity, just simply understanding this principle. Because I understood that principle, that particular like principle of like the why of how my life will be different because I'm a believer and I'm a doer of the word. Like when God asked me that question, now a few years ago, God would ask me that question, I would have listened. It would have been a total carnal response. Oh, it would have been a totally carnal response. Do y'all hear me? It would have been a carnal response that was rooted in fear. But when he asked me that question, as I was, it just seemed like it wasn't random. It was the Holy Spirit. But I was just speaking life. God, I'm paying this car off 3 years before. Why three? It was God. It just came out 3 years before. Oh, it's getting paid off. It's getting paid off. I ain't waiting until the end of the loan term. It's getting paid off. So when God asked me, that question, what would you do with $100,000? I knew because I knew exactly what generational curses I'm breaking. I knew exactly how to respond to that. God, I'm paying this car off. Putting a down payment on a house or whatever the case may be. I'm putting money on a house. And I'm saving the rest to do whatever it is that you need me to do. Whether I have to sow it, whatever the case may be. So, when God got silent, I'm like, Lord, wait, was it not the right response? But when he began to just literally break that thing down, the Lord said, you could answer that question because you understand the why. You understand the why behind this process. Because you understand the why behind this process, you also understand why the enemy fights you in this area so much. You understand it. And you ain't, screaming, you ain't doing all, you understand it. And I don't know who needed to hear this. Get to the root of what your why is. Some of y'all believe in God for living arrangements. You can go down your bloodline and just see like how unstable, many people in your family and your bloodline have been when it revolves around living arrangements. Some people have never owned a home. Some people have never had stable, a stable place to live. For some of y'all finances, you see poverty, you see fear gripping these areas. The Lord is saying this now. Let your why, when you understand it, let your why shape your prayers. Let your why shape your prayers. I need somebody to type that in. I don't know. Do y'all feel God? I feel God. Let your why, there's a piece here. Let your why shape your prayers. Because when you really understand the why, when you really understand what it is that God is breaking off of your life, when you allow that why to shape your prayers, you will see God do some things because you're praying in his will now. You're praying his perfect will at this point. Come on. Let your why shape your prayers. That's why some of y'all don't know what to pray. When you pray, you don't be knowing what to ask God for. It's because you really don't understand the why. You really don't understand the why. Whew. And that's the word. That's the word. Let your why shape your prayers. Get to the root of it. Get to the root of it. Get to the root of it. And that's the broadcast. God literally stopped me from going back to rest to get y'all this word. Receive it. Go into prayer about it. Once you get to the why, once you understand the generational strongholds that you're breaking off of your life, even like when it revolves around like, romantically, I saw the pattern. Like, okay, God, there are some areas where I have not known what to pray, but now you're starting to connect the dots. This is how I need to pray. This is what I need to be praying. This is my why. Everybody in my family divorce, or they stay together. You sleep on one side of the house, and you sleep on the other side of the house. That ain't my portion. That ain't my portion. Or you get a divorce, or you separate, and no, that's not my portion. But it took me getting to the root of the why for me to be able to like see, okay, this is why your process has been the way that it is. And now that you understand it, this is how you fight it. This is how you pray the perfect will of God. Let your why shape the prayers. That's the broadcast. Whew. That's the broadcast. That's the broadcast. To those of you guys that need to sow, that feel led to sow, there are two ways for you to sow. You can sow via paypal.me/thoughtspot, or you can sow via the Cash App using $ThoughtSpot. The seed title is Let My Why Shape My Prayers. That is the seed title. Let my why shape my prayer. Let my why shape my prayer. And you sow whatever God leads you to sow, whether you're sowing your own haps, whether you're sowing $20, whether you're sowing 10, whether you're sowing 5, whether you're sowing 100, whether you're sowing 1,000, it does not matter. You let God lead you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And so, again, the seed title was Let My Why Shape My Prayers. That's it. For some reason, okay, Lord, I'm not going to say that. All right, y'all. That's it. I love y'all. I'm rooting for y'all. And so, till next time, y'all. Peace.